Hey everyone! I saw this adorable faux leather photo keychain on Etsy, and instead of purchasing it, I decided I would create a template and make it myself. Since I am going to provide you guys with the file, I'm not going to go over that whole process and design space with you. I'll just provide the project link and then I'll talk a little bit about it. So what I'm going to do is cut the materials with you guys today. So what I'm doing is it's going to be for my husband. It's Cat Dad. So I've got some iron-on pieces I already cut and some dark printable iron-on pieces I already cut. I did cut these two. You can't see it, but they are cut. And we're going to be cutting faux leather. You have a couple options with this. There is going to be like a base one and then the frame. So it'll make more sense when I show you guys. But you can either do the base out of faux leather and then the frame with iron-on, or you can do 2 layers of faux leather. I'm doing 2 layers of faux leather because I have this Cricut charcoal faux leather and it has this really beautiful texture and I want it to match. So I don't know if they make this anymore, but this is really pretty and I know my husband will like the look of it, so I'm going with this. You can use, but like I said, you can use iron-on for the frame part. The only thing you want to be careful of is the carrier sheet can remove the ink from your printable iron-on, so I recommend being very careful with that. So I cut everything already, but I did want to show you guys how to do the faux leather part, since I think that is where people might get a little confused. You're just using your regular premium fine point blade that came with your machine. You don't need to change your housing, anything like that. Now, if you are using a different brand other than Cricut, you might want to do a test cut, check your settings. Personally, I recommend if you're going to purchase from anywhere else, always check if they have cut settings available for Cricut before you purchase. Most places won't, so keep that in mind. All right, so because this has a texture to it and like a grain, I am being careful of which direction I'm putting it down on my mat. Now you're going to put it leather side up, fuzzy side down. And I usually, if I'm using a big sheet, fold my materials in half like this to line it up on my mat. And that helps me get it lined up better. And then this is a like brand new purple mat. I think I've only used it for chipboard, and that was only for 2 pieces, or actually 1 piece. So it's a pretty much brand new mat. I'm going to use my brayer just to make sure it's adhered well. And I already have everything set up in Design Space to go. So I'm going to load my mat. I'm using my Maker 4. So it pulls the mat in to check the size real quick, which I love. If you have one of the Explore 3 or Maker 3 machines, you know it's a bit of a slower process, and I don't love that. So I have not cut faux leather on my machine yet, so I am curious to see if it cuts that any quicker. Yeah, it seems to be cutting quicker. So this is the frame part, and I am cutting this one first because I wanted to show you guys that's a little bit, it's got some thinner pieces, so I did want to do that on camera with you guys. I will cut the base piece off camera. I don't think we need to do that on camera. Okay, so that cut really quick. I'll take this off the mat and then I will show you guys how I do that. Always, for all my materials, regardless of material, mat color, anything, I flip my mat over and I pull my mat away from my material, and I'm carefully pulling my material down. Now this has it's a thin frame, so I am being careful. You can see these thinner lines here. I am being careful. And these pieces are fine. I'll go ahead and save these for my scraps. Pull those off first. And then I'm just going to carefully, this shouldn't rip, but you never know. And I tend to do things at a pretty quick pace. So sometimes I have had that happen where things rip. So, but that's because of my pace. Okay. So I'll set that aside. Okay. And so you can see this is our frame. All right. So I'm going to go ahead again with the textured pieces. And I'm going to fold it up, put it here. And I did select the box to remember my material selection. So my cut is already ready to go. You'll notice I have like a little mark here. That was from the tape that was around it, but I'm not worried about that. It shouldn't cut on my design. And if it does, it is what it is. I probably should have cut the frame out of that piece. Hopefully cut that out, but it's okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead, load and cut this, and then we'll come back and start talking about assembly. Okay, so I have my solid piece cut. This is my base piece. And now we are going to, we want to line up where our pictures are going to go. Now, whether you end up putting it this way or this way, it really doesn't matter. That's preference, but figure that out before you go forward so you know how everything's going to be placed. Now, I want to make sure that my pictures are going to line up. So what I'm going to do is line up my frame piece with my base piece, and I have these sewing clips. You can use any type of clip, but I'm going to use these to help hold the design in place. I'm going to do this off camera, but I just wanted to show you guys because these lines are thin and it's curled up a little bit. So you might want to start over here with this since it's a bigger piece, but go ahead and start lining that up, and I'm going to pin it in place so that, or clip it in place so that everything is lined up, and then I can mark where my photos are going to go. So let me do this off camera and we'll come back. Okay, so I clipped this all down, and I already went ahead and traced it because it's just easier to do off camera than to have you guys watch me do that. But I'll unclip this quickly and just kind of show you. So it's not perfect. You can see up here like where my clip was. It's not perfectly straight, but I know like this side and the bottom are more straight, so I'll use that as my guide. So don't forget, all of that's going to be covered up by your photos and then your frame. So don't worry about that. I tried a pencil, but mine wasn't dark enough, so you could try that too. Or if you have like a washable marker, go ahead and do that. So what we'll do next is we will place our photos here, and we're going to start ironing them down. Okay, so I'm going to use my Cricut Easy Press Mini with this. So I just went to the heat guide. I selected the mini, printable iron-on for dark fabrics, and faux leather. And it says to do preheat for 5 seconds, press low for 10 seconds, light pressure, constant movement. And let's see, this is... there's really no peel because there's no carrier sheet, so we don't really have to worry about that. For the printable iron-on, I'll put the directions for this in the description, like a link for it, but there is a QR code on the back here, so you can scan that and we'll take you right to the directions. This is Cricut brand printable iron-on for dark fabrics, and this, the dark fabrics one has the QR code on the back too. The light fabric has a green grid, so you'll know the difference. It's easier to tell. It also comes with a sheet in here of parchment paper or just a thin pressing paper, so I'm going to use that as well. I usually use what comes in here because I don't know if any ink will come up, but I like to be safe. So I'm just going to turn my press on, and we're doing a 5-second pre-press. So I'm going to just turn my mat this way so it's a little bit easier to work with. All right, so we'll just give that a second to heat up, and then, like I said, we'll do a pre-press. It usually you just want 5 seconds. Takes out any moisture, any wrinkles. That's for anything, your shirts, totes, whatever. You can do a little bit longer if yours is like really wrinkly, or you know, if you have like a lot of humidity where you live and you're worried about the moisture. Just don't do it too much. You really don't need to. I'm gonna let that heat up and we'll come back. Okay, so it's at temp. We're going to go ahead and iron it. Again, just like 5 seconds. And when you're using the Easy Press Mini, you do constant motion. You don't just hold and press like you do with the bigger Easy Presses or like with the auto press. You keep it moving. So if you have not used the mini press, that's a good thing to keep in mind. Always follow the heat guide if you're unsure. Okay, now you can also see that helped flatten this down a little bit. So I'm going to give that a second to cool, and then I'm going to go ahead and just do the same thing to this piece to kind of help flatten it down a little bit. It really doesn't matter which side you do, because it's going to make it flat either way. This is just going to help us when we go to glue it down to help keep it in place. And we can use those clips too if we need to. But yes, this heat is just going to help flatten it a little bit. See, perfect. Okay, so we'll set that aside too. And we're going to come back here. Now this box here is a slightly different size. These 3 boxes are the same. So it doesn't really matter for these 3 what order you do, but this one is going to be different. So please remember that. Okay, so printable iron-on Cricut brand for dark fabric. My cats never sit still, so I took these pictures quick and just added in my own background. So you just print it and you peel it off. Super easy, nothing fancy. You don't need to mirror your image, anything like that. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to line it up with that box I made here as best we can. Okay. Make sure it looks straight. I know my lines weren't perfectly straight. So we'll go ahead. Speaking of, I'm sorry if you can hear one of my cats. It's probably this one. I think he's a little upset I locked him out of my craft room. Okay, so remember we're doing 10 seconds. Now, it's not 10 seconds overall. It's 10 seconds for each area. So if our mini press only covers half, we do 10 seconds on this side, 10 seconds on that side. Okay, just double checking that it's straight. And we're going to go. You can set a timer with your, devices, but I'll just count my head. Okay, so light pressure, constant movement, 10 seconds, and I'm just peeling it back a little bit. All right, I'm going to do these other 3 off camera, and then we'll come back. Okay, so I have all of my pictures ironed on. And what I want to do is I'm going to put this down and this here, which I probably should have done this side first, but keep that in mind. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just kind of fold it up like this. This is ultimately how it's going to be folded up. And I'm going to position my design for the outside, which is my cat dad pieces. Now, this is a layered design, and I do have the colors to go on top of it. So I am going to just position the black piece and the colors go on top of it. So that's all I need to do is position the black one. So I'm just going to kind of hold that in place, flatten it out. I really didn't need to fold it up, but I am more of a visual person, so I do like having that visual. Actually, this is probably better. That's preference, I guess. All right, so we're going to do that, and I have my protective sheet down here. I'm more worried about the ink with this one, so I'm just going to take a small piece of Teflon to protect my iron-on. I can stay on this low setting, but we will just have to watch our time. Now we are layering. Excuse me. We are layering, so we're just going to do a couple of seconds per spot. And I'm using all Cricut iron-on, so it is a cold peel. So I usually will tend to lift that up and let it cool down. It helps to get it off your mat. Your mat has helps retain that heat. So I usually take it off my mat and let it cool down. And then, like I said, it was just a couple seconds. And then we'll do each layer for a couple seconds. And once all the layers are down, we will go ahead and do a final press. But if you have like a cooling block, you can use that. I've used a block of cream cheese before. Whatever works. So we're going to slowly peel this back and check it. We just want to make sure it's stuck. So that's why we're going slow. Okay, so that was perfect. And then we'll put our next layer down. You guys should be able to see. I know it's hard to see because I have the black and the gray, but we'll do, so we're going to do this just for like 2-3 seconds. And then we'll peel, add this layer, and then we'll do it all together. So I'll do that off camera and come back. Okay, so I've got all 3 layers down and all 3 carrier sheets peeled. So I'm just going to put my Teflon down and do a quick 2 seconds over each area, just to make sure it's all fully adhered. And we are good to go with that. I can put this aside. And now we're going to glue on our frame. This is still a little warm. Actually, let me set this aside because it is still a little warm. And then if you want to put a freeze or anything down here, you can do that. I'm just putting a paw print. We're going to talk about where the snaps and all of that are going to go. So I will explain once you see where the snaps go, you'll understand why I did this, like, just basic solid image. But if you want to do something else, you can. You'll just have to keep in mind where your snaps are going to go. So please make sure you watch the snap assembly before creating your design so that you can understand about the snap placement and if you're doing words and anything like that. Now you can always add a shape the size of your snap into Design Space, into the template, and that will give you a good guide. But everyone has different size snaps or what they have on hand, so I didn't want to add anything into the template to cause any confusion. So I figured I would talk about it here. It would just be easier to kind of explain that to you guys. So we're gonna let that cool. We'll peel it and we'll come back. Okay, so this is cool. I peeled my carrier sheet and we are ready to glue this together. I'm actually going to, I forgot to shut off my mini press. So we're going to shut that off and I'm going to put all of that aside. And we will focus on, I moved my mat because I don't want to get any glue on my Easy Press mat. Okay, actually I'm gonna put this behind here. It'll show up better on this background. Okay, so there's a couple of ways we can do this. We can glue around here and then put the frame on. We can glue on the frame and then apply it. I'm going to do it around here because these are pretty thin and I don't want to have to worry about it. So I am going to use Art Glitter Glue with the fine point tip. This can be purchased on Amazon. It will work for fabric. It goes on white, dries clear, but it has this really nice fine point that gives you a nice thin line. And because these lines are so thin, I really wanted to make sure we just have a thin layer of glue. This might take a little bit longer to dry than some other fabric glues, but I'm more concerned about not having spillage everywhere. So, and again, we have those clips. So if we need to put those clips on to help us hold it down while it's drying, but we did flatten it out pretty good with the with the heat when we heat pressed it, so I'm not super worried. You can see it's already kind of drying, so I'm going to just do a thicker layer right here. And I did, this is another reason why I did put all of my iron on and stuff first, because we don't want to have to heat this glue up and cause a mess. Okay. And I'm going to start by lining this up on this side and gluing that down. I'm trying to make sure my head's not in the way, so sorry if you guys see the top of my head. And we're just going to very carefully make sure. Now, our glitter glue has a pretty permanent hold, so once it's down, you don't have a lot of wiggle room. This goes with all materials, so I use it for my paper crafts, but once it's down, it's pretty much down. So you want to work as quickly as you can, but also carefully. Okay. Now, I also have Aleene's tacky glue, which you can use, but that doesn't give as thin of a line of glue as I like. So that's why I chose the art glitter glue, but I'll show you the Aleene's glue and you can decide what you like best for you. Now I'm just kind of putting this in place, lining the areas up. Okay. And I am kind of doing it in different areas because these frame lines are pretty thin. So you want to be careful that everything's lining up right. Okay. And you can see they're moving out of place in some areas. That's okay. I'm trying to not press it down like super tight until I know everything is lined up how I want it. So that's why they're kind of moving like that. We want to make sure it's all down and in place where we want it beforehand. Okay. And because we did just put a thin layer of glue, if you notice any areas, like I'll show you over here, it's not, we might need just more glue there. So I'm just going to go in, we can do a thicker layer there. This comes with the little needle on the top. That's to help keep it in there all the time if you're not using it. And it helps it from drying up and clogging. So there you go. See, we'll just do a thicker layer here. And glue that into place. So I'm going to give this a few minutes just to dry nice, because once we start adding our snaps and stuff, we don't want everything coming out of place. So I'm going to make sure it's dry and then we'll come back. Okay, so we are going to add our key ring. That's what this loop is for, and then our snaps. So I'm going to talk about a couple different ways to do this. Now, the one I saw on Etsy had the snaps for the closure here, but they also had a snap here. That was just to hold the key ring in place, and I'm not really interested in a snap. That's not necessary, so I'm going to use a leather rivet. If you only have snaps, you can use a snap there, that's fine. I just don't feel it's necessary, and I have rivets, so I am going to use those. So what we're going to do is, you can decide if you want your leather piece to come in this way or come out this way. Now, I don't want to cover my picture, so I'm doing it backwards, but it really is a personal preference here, and you don't really need to do too much over. So just kind of decide where you want, and I'm going to, let me grab my stuff. Okay, I have leather snaps and I have leather rivets. I have had these for a very long time. I will link them in the description. They are from Amazon. So even if they're not available, usually Amazon will give you like a similar recommendation so you guys could still pick out something similar. Now, this little kit I have comes with pretty much everything you need, and it has directions and stuff here. So you can use that. I'm going to use I guess I'll do silver. I didn't realize they didn't have black in here when I decided this. And this comes with a couple of different sizes of the rivets. I'm just going to do the small one. I don't need anything big on this. It is a pretty small project overall. So you can decide which size you want. Mine are tiny. I don't even remember the exact size, but they're tiny. Okay, so this gives you the directions here. I do have this hammer. I don't remember if it came with this or something else I have, so don't quote me on where it came from. So we're just going to kind of line it up, and I don't think this is actually going to be thick enough to go through all these layers of leather, but we will see. Okay, so just did a little punch here. I do have a leather punch, so let me grab that. Okay, so I've got this. It looks like a hole punch, but it is for leather, and it has just it's hard to see, but it has a smaller little tip here. They do have tools, which I should look into because I plan on making more of these, where it has different sizes and it kind of has like a rotary thing at the top. So I plan on looking into that, and if I find one I like, I'll link that for you guys too. So we are going to just wiggle this in here. I'm going to line it up with that hole I already made, okay? And we're just going to punch, okay? And that went through both layers. This is ready to go up to 6 sheets of faux leather, and technically this would be 4 because of the way we have it doubled up and linked over. Now, I'm going to say this to you now because I don't want to forget myself. If you're using a snap, this is no big deal because you can just open and close the snap and put your key ring in. If you're using a leather rivet like I am, put your key ring in now because otherwise it's not going through. I did buy these key rings. They are a little bit smaller than I wanted, which I didn't realize until I got them, but we are just going to roll with it. So we're going to put that on, and then we're going to line those holes up. And actually, let me see if I have a bigger one because I don't love this. Okay, so I couldn't find ones that were bigger, but I just reworked how I put this on to make it work. It'll be fine. And I'm just going to put that in there. But this will work fine. I will link these for you, but I do want you to keep in mind that they are a little bit small, so you might want to go a little bigger, but I will link them for you. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we're going to follow the directions here. And it gives you this little guide, at least this one. So check if yours comes with it. And this is A, this is B. So then it tells you make the spike pierce the hole from the back. So we're going to put A. So the little flat cap piece through the back here. Alrighty. See that? It's through. All right. And then we can use this. There's a little divot in here to line that up with so it stays in place. Okay, and then we're going to put the B part, the little cap, on top. And we're going to, this tool has like a little, it's a little dip here. You can tell the difference. I'm going to put that on. I'm going to hit it with our hammer. And we're just going to make sure it's on there good, which this one is not. We're going to have to line it up a little bit better, but I'm sorry if that's loud. Okay, so now we've got that in place, and we will do the snap. Let me clean this up first and we'll come back. Okay, so quickly, because I didn't realize what I did, there's a small bag in with the smaller A parts. So these smaller A parts go with the B parts in the bag. So these ones go with this cap. So I screwed that up a little bit. So I did go back and fix that. So you'll notice that my my rivet cap is a little bit smaller. I did fix that. So let's go ahead and clean this up, and then we'll come back and do the snaps. Okay, so the same thing with my snap kit here. It comes with instructions, step by step. All the pieces here are labeled so you know where everything goes. So I'm going to do the black ones. I like these. So I'm just going to pull out all my pieces, make sure I have all the black ones, and then we will come back. Okay, so you need 4 pieces. So you have 2 different parts of the snaps. So you have the cap and the socket, which are these pieces here. The cap looks like this on the back. And then you have the stud and the post, which it's hard to see because I can't really lay them flat, but the post is long here and the stud is shorter, so you can tell the difference. They all come kind of in the same little thing here. So now what we want to do is we're going to fold this over and decide where it's going to go. Now we want the cap on the front here, okay? I know this can be hard to see, but we want the cap on the front. That's the nice flat shiny part. So we're gonna line this up here. And I'm going to just use the leather punch again. Make sure I only have these layers right here. And I'm gonna go through, this might not go through. It's not deep enough. So what I'm going to do is just kind of decide here, keep my picture in mind of how I want it to go. This actually might work if I just do these layers. So let's fold this up and see if I come at it from this way. No, that's not going to go in long enough. All right, so what we're going to do is, this is our, has this little dip in here. That gives us our guide. It's kind of our punch. So I'm going to just make a hole here, and then I'm going to punch with this. And what I can do too is kind of line it up on the back, make sure it's not covering my picture. And we're good to go. Take that out. All right. And then I do want to line it up here. So what I'll do is, I'll line it up again. However far down you want it to go. This is a preference. And then I'm just going to use this to kind of give me a guide on the hole here. It is a little hard to see in the video, so I'm going to see if I can make it a little bit darker for you guys. I'm just going to kind of go in there. Okay, it is hard to see in the video, but then we can just go ahead and line this up. It's not going to do that. All right, it's not long enough for this part. So this is why I need to get that other one. So we'll punch through here. That didn't perfectly go through because we also have our paw print. So we'll just go from this direction and pull it out. And we're good to go. Oh, it did go through my paper too. All right. So then what we're going to do, and this is here, see where it is in my paw print? This is why I lined it up. This is why I chose a paw print, because it's not blocking any words or anything like that. So what we'll do is we're going to put our cap through. Okay. And we do want to do this because we want the pretty flat cap on the outside. So we're going to do it this way so that we know for sure which one we're going to do. And now we're going to take our socket, which is this part, and then cover it. And then we're going to take this tool that kind of looks like a screw at the bottom, and we're going to put it in here, and we're going to hit it with our hammer. Okay, and it does kind of screw in, so you can just unscrew it, and we're good to go. And now on this side, we want to make sure that whatever side we want to be, which it goes into here, we need it to line up. So our post goes in on the outside, the cap goes in on the inside, because the cap, oh no, see, this is why we do it this way. We got to make sure that we are lining it up so that when it closes, our connection is correct. So this is why we always double check, okay? So you can go ahead and flatten this out. We're going to take this tool, which is like basically the same thing as the other one. It's got a little hole here. Put that down, strike it with our hammer. And you can do it gently and then go ahead and double check it. Make sure it's nice and secure. You can do it a little bit more if you need to. Just don't overdo it, so you don't want to smash it. Okay, so now we have the cap dad here. Okay, and we can fold it up with our key ring, fold it over, snap it in place, and we have our cute little cat dad, which this didn't perfectly line up. I should have done that better, but my husband's gonna love it, so he's not gonna care. But just line that up a little bit better when you guys do it. All right, if you have any questions, let me know.